How are you? How's everyone doing? Let's start with the news about what's happening around the world, and we have to talk about what's going on with the climate. Let's take a look at the image, at what's happening on the weather map, basically, where there's an alert from the authorities in the United States stating that 226,000 people could be affected. This is just in Illinois, but it applies to several states. In the United States, power outages and severe flooding are expected. There we can see the activity that's already happening right now in Illinois and in the so-called Great Lakes states, right? We can see how storms are forming in this region of the world, and strong ones are expected, but they could also spread to other regions. Meanwhile, in Michigan, for example, there are already power outages. 85,000 families have been left without electricity, a major blackout in that part of the world, in that part of the United States. And there we can see the electrical activity, the lightning, the flashes, ultimately the thunderstorms that are developing strongly within the United States. According to reports, the Midwest will be left with a scenario of power outages, material damage, and reports of multiple tornadoes. These are the immediate consequences. They are already being felt there. But also in some areas of Illinois, the National Weather Service received a dozen reports of tornadoes. There were already reports since last night. The frontal system that originated with storms has been characterized by a lot of hail and a lot of rain, according to reports. Please keep that in mind as well, because it's just that active, let's say. All of it. Well, all of that, all these weather phenomena in the end, right? And here I go. You know, I keep reporting to you what's happening throughout that whole region, right? But anyway, let's move on to other points. Let's move on to us. Also, important matters about what's happening on this topic, not just on the topic. We're going to talk about, well, climate, because there are also warnings for other regions of the world. First, let me just tell you, operations were also suspended at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport, according to Frida's flight tracking website. They report that there were 1,000 flights delayed or even cancelled, departing from where? To Chicago. So it's probably happening in other states too, right? Flights because the weather is bad, it's severe. Look at Chicago. And by the way, a shout out to the community watching us in Illinois. Chicago is called the Windy City, not the City of Wind. That's what they call it, right? So it's a city that if you ever get the chance, you should visit. It's very beautiful, very interesting. It has some incredible museums, right? Incredible, but a lot of people who live there they've never seen them. Go to those museums. Really, it's amazing. They have them. There's an incredible butterfly house, a natural science museum. Really great. But anyway, when it comes to wind, they have a very curious feature. They have a lake. It covers several states in the United States, and they call the lake the beach, actually. Or they call it it says David. I mean, it is or it is. You can't see the end of it. I mean, it's not a lake where you can see the end. No, you can't see the end. I mean, it is. It's like the sea. Actually, it even has small waves and everything, right? And people swim there and everything, right? This one has its median strip so you can run and all that stuff. The thing is, that's why it runs. The wind blows really hard, right? I mean, the wind blows, and before there weren't many tornadoes there. But lately in the last few years, we've had to report several strong tornadoes in the area. So it did have that kind of probability, and now it's been increasing. Besides, winter is tough. Winter is really tough, right? But anyway, right now, the main part of the problem is that, right? Let's move on to other topics, because tonight we'll update the heat wave situation, since we're experiencing a heat wave right now. In the southern United States and the western area, mainly in California, Arizona, New Mexico, but even in Texas and even Florida. In other words, but the strongest impact is in those three states. I mentioned a strong heat wave that, by the way, is also hitting Mexico. Now, over there in Baja California, just ask them what the temperatures are like over there. Sonora and also Chihuahua, well, the heat is intense over there, and there are rumors, and no rain is expected in that specific area. Another thing is that they have been reporting, and I want to go to this report from the NOAA, in which they show that Cristina is no longer a tropical depression. It has already become a post-tropical phenomenon. It has already weakened quite a bit. But what is true is that in the Atlantic, a potential hurricane is expected. The chances are low, but it's the first phenomenon that truly has a chance of becoming a hurricane. Few, very few, but it does have a chance. The system formed. The craziest thing about Cristina, I mean, look, Cristina started over here. Oh, sorry, I clicked here and I moved because of this. There it is, look. Now here it is, right? There's Cristina. You jump over Guatemala, El Salvador, and Mexico and head toward the Gulf. That's it. It comes in through here. And this is what will force, in the coming days, the phenomenon coming from the Pacific to end up forming a possible tropical storm or hurricane in this area of the Gulf. It has a 10% chance, which isn't much, honestly. That would be the first one with any chance. That's why it's news. But it really doesn't have much chance of becoming a significant phenomenon, right? Right now. Well, Boris was there. Now it's Cristina. There was, what's her name? The first one, Amanda, something like that, right? She went towards Hawaii, over there. I mean, she went west. She went the opposite way. But Boris and Cristina did bring rain to Mexico, to El Salvador, specifically Cristina, and to Nicaragua, Guatemala, Costa Rica. I mean, to Central America. There was a lot of water with the Cristina phenomenon hitting more or less intensely, right? I mean, it was pretty strong in terms of the amount of rain, not in terms of wind or anything like that. In any case, it was a disturbance that caused heavy rain in some regions, even floods, like in Liberia, over there in Costa Rica, right? There were floods. I mean, in a place called Liberia, where there usually aren't major floods, right? Here, there have been floods in Mexico City. There have been floods in some parts of southern Mexico because of the rain. These sudden ones that bring a huge amount of water in just a few hours, and then the ground can't absorb it quickly enough. Obviously, that's also part of what's happened. But now, it's just normal. I mean, we're in the season. What might not be normal is the number of phenomena coming from the Pacific, which could be more than expected. The NOAA already mentioned it. Even Antonio Gutierrez himself, the Secretary General of the UN, warned about extreme weather this year because of the El Niño phenomenon, which has just now been officially confirmed as active. Right? I mean, it's already here. Now let's see if it's going to be a super El Niño, as they've said, right? We'll see that as time goes by and we'll give more details. In the meantime, let's move on to other important matters. I don't want to go on for too long, but things keep happening and I want to share them with you here. The president of the Iranian parliament, Mohammad Ghalibaf, is a figure who has been very active. This figure has been very active, and many people notice him. There's even a rumor that Trump wants this figure to be the new leader. It's not that he's favorable to the United States, but he's more diplomatic, apparently less extreme and easier to deal with. But suddenly, the Iranian parliament president also makes strong statements. Quedarían atrapados en él on screen. Mohammad Ghalibaf warned against attacks by the United States, saying that attacks on Iran's infrastructure would create an endless quagmire and that they would be trapped in it for years. He also warned they will see a different Iran and should make no mistake. That's his main point. These remarks follow statements by Donald Trump, de una manera más amplia, voilà, in which he insists that the operation could take place tonight to begin a broader operation against the regime of the Ayatollah. Let's also keep an eye on that issue. We will keep updating on how this situation develops, right? Also, let's stay alert about that. Hey, stay strong. Well, that's it. I'm signing off. We'll move on to other reports in a moment, whether it's about the World Cup or not. If there's anything to report, we'll do it here. Big greetings to Nova's dad. How have you been? Like number 1,000. Hey, hopefully, right? Yeah, hopefully it really is number 1,000. Greetings, Marvin. Lily Blanco. Big greetings to those who have subscribed. Thank you so much, MT Miguel. Awesome. How have you been, Marvin? What's up? Chicago O'Hare International. That storm is there. So over there by O'Hare, by the airport. That's what you're saying, Miguel. That's the thing, right? Yeah. And I had the pleasure of visiting that airport. I had a great time there in Chicago. We left a long time ago, way back in 2005 or 2006, almost 20 years ago. And it's an experience we're still living. This is the only city where Astrid and I have been. And honestly, we were really tempted to stay. Like, seriously, should we just stay here? We really liked the city, you know? We were treated really well. I don't know if it was just a coincidence or not, but honestly, that's how it was. Literally, just like that. You'd be walking, and for example, a man would stop to chat with us, but just to talk, not trying to... No, nothing like that. He just asked, hey, where are you from? And we started chatting. Then we were walking in another part of Chicago, and there were some Hispanics. I think they were from Mexico. They saw us as Mexicans, and two guys were like, what's up? We invited each other for some beers at a really nice little bar. So we had a couple of beers, played some pool, and kept talking. And then they tried to rob us. By the way, that's one of the few times someone has tried to rob us. It happened once on a bus, but honestly, the way they tried to rob us seemed kind of innocent. And nothing really happened. It didn't get any worse. And then there we were, acting like real tourists with a map and checking things out. And did anyone see us? I remember it was a lady, a typical American lady, or actually it was a man, that's right, a typical American man. He stopped and told us, look, don't go down this street, go down this one and all that. I don't know. Maybe I just got lucky. Everyone was just in a good mood that day. You know how New York has a reputation for people being rude. I've never been to New York, but at least here in our experience, we met really good people. Honestly, we met really cool people in every way. I mean, there were no problems. On the contrary, people were really nice. I also went in the summer, right? The weather is really nice. Maybe if I go in the winter, I'll say, no, this is terrible. Who knows? I don't know. I've never been in the winter. So hopefully someday I'll get to know Chicago. That would be awesome. Aurelio says here, just getting over a 15-day cold, maybe from the heat. Yeah, I know how those colds are. They're rough. That's tough, Aurelio. Well, that's great that you're already recovered. What did you do? I mean, is it normal for you to get such long colds? I mean, 15 days seems like a lot to me, but sometimes I'm really persistent in the middle of a cold. You're doing great, Aurelio. Get well soon, okay? Remember the sun, right? It's also an activator of vitamin C, right? I mean, vitamin C on its own doesn't really work, right? You need to have vitamin D, which also comes from the sun. So sometimes people are afraid of the sun and don't want it. They put on a lot of things to avoid the sun, but the sun is also necessary, right? In moderation if you want, but it's necessary. So please take care of yourselves. By the way, how have you been? MT greetings. It wasn't very horrible. He says, oh no, it wasn't very horrible. Okay, so it wasn't that bad. Okay. Not too bad. Adilson says, well, get well soon, Aurelio. Hope you recover well. Adilson Isa Roble. How are things going in Cuba? Garman. Well, all right. See you in a little while. We'll keep talking. We'll keep chatting. Thank you very much for joining us. And in just a little while, we'll be back with the details of what's happening in the world. Thank you also to those who watch us on replay and to those who are subscribed. No, obviously not. Hugs, see you later. Still here, right? Throughout the day, I have to run an errand before the World Cup. Let's see if I have time to do it. And later on, so we'll keep talking. See you later.